Okay, I think we are all set. Thank you, Jonathan. We are now going to answer some questions from our audience. Again, type in your questions in the chat box, the audience chat box below, and press send. Also, as a reminder, if you are requesting pesticide credits from this presentation, don't forget to sign out of this presentation. Go to the audience chat box and type your first name, last name, and states for which you are requesting credit. Lastly, if you're interested in more Caneberry information, check out the North American Raspberry and Blackberry Conference, which will be held virtually at the end of February, preceded by a 7-session Getting Started in Raspberry and Blackberry short course. Visit raspberryblackberry.com for more information and for registration. So let's take a few questions. Jonathan, the first question I have is, what is your opinion of cane blight versus other organisms that cause dieback in caneberries and blackberries specifically?
Yeah, so of course, as I mentioned in my presentation, cane blight is thought to be a major cause of dieback in blackberries in the Southeast. And certainly we have seen that. And in 2020, we saw it in Georgia in several locations. But we also have, locations where people report possible cane blight, and we go out and we really can't find that particular fungal organism. However, there are other organisms apparently that can cause dieback. And so now we're really coming to realize that there's maybe not just one, maybe it's a disease complex, or maybe these other fungal organisms that I mentioned are actually maybe more important in some situations. So there certainly does seem to be more going on than just cane blight in terms of what's causing our plantings to decline and die.
Okay, thank you. Another question I have is, how has the spray guide changed this year compared to how it was last year?
Yeah, so there weren't a lot of major changes, just 3 minor changes to highlight, I guess. There are a couple of new products that are labeled and we have some information on. Orondis Gold 200 is a product that's available for Phytophthora root rot control, and it's now labeled for caneberries. We added Kinja as another option for botrytis management into the guide. And also I've updated the guide based on, I talked about in my presentation, our new recommendations for orange cane blotch to basically begin sprays earlier in order to better manage that pathogen applications of Prophyte.
Okay. And then another question, do you see a shift towards more use of polytunnels to prevent some of these diseases in blackberries?
We have not seen that in Georgia. I mentioned in my talk for all these diseases, the importance of moisture in the canopy for these diseases to really get going. And rain splash is important for the spread of spores. So any kind of covered, production, has the potential to help, I guess, deal with some of those problems for diseases. But I haven't seen that in Georgia, so I really don't have a lot of information on how those would work.
Okay. Well, it looks like that was all the questions.
I think I see a couple more questions down here.
Okay. I'm not seeing that on mine, so you might have to pull it up.
Okay, yeah, we've got a couple more questions that have come in. I see it says, what is the impact of overall planting management and health on blackberry diseases? And this person says they've noticed over the years with leaf rust and other leaf diseases that low vigor, overcropped, or old plantings tend to have more issues, irregardless of variety. Can you comment? And that's certainly true. Diseases build up in plantings over time. And we certainly see that after 7, 8, 10 years, in South Georgia, it's, plantings often look pretty bad. And so that's just the fact of diseases building up over time. And as I mentioned, in terms of like the pathogens that infect through wounds, certainly plants with low vigor or plants that are really densely packed in there or aren't growing well for whatever reason, have trouble recovering from some of these things and healing their pruning wounds, and all kinds of things can build up like that. So certainly plantings decline over time due to diseases just kind of building up. And so that's true. I see another question came in, will Prophyte be safe during bloom? And we're recommending applications of Prophyte for orange cane blotch during the pre-harvest time. certainly there are concerns with the phosphonates if they're used, if they're sprayed with any kind of copper products, or if they're sprayed with when it's too hot outside. You can get some kind of burn or phytotoxicity. But my student, in a couple years of field work, spraying during that period, did not encounter any problems as long as he, didn't spray during the heat of the day. So generally, I don't have any concerns with that during that time. And I see one more question, I think, on, are any recommendations for downy mildew for liner production? I don't really have any recommendations for that. Depending on what you mean by liner production, there's some restrictions for products that can be used at that time. Downy mildew is a relatively new issue we've seen, so I don't have any specific recommendations for control at that time. And I'm not seeing any more questions. Did you see any more pop up?
Nope, that is it. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for your time and expertise. To all the attendees, thank you for attending this presentation. Don't forget to sign out for your pesticide credits in the audience chat box. All educational presentations and the virtual trade show will be available for you to access until April 30th, 2021. So come back if you missed a presentation or just want to rewatch one, or if you need to search for a service or product provider in the virtual trade show. Again, thank you for your participation, and this concludes this presentation. Thanks.